Assalamu Alaikum guys, it's a loving family back with another recipe. I hope you're all doing well, and what we've got for you today is an extremely tasty, vibrant flavour bomb that's been served in cultures all across the world. And I think it takes particular inspiration from its Mediterranean counterparts, as bell peppers, or capsicum as they're called, are grown predominantly in Europe. Or are they? See, that's what I thought until I went ahead and did some research. And what I found out is that bell peppers are in fact classed as fruit as opposed to vegetables, and that it was only really introduced to the world through export, and it came from South America when Mr. Columbus himself went and invited himself in. He brought back some seeds to Spain, and this is how Europe was introduced to the wonders of the bell pepper. Now, the world's changed a lot since then, and of course farming techniques have evolved, so you know this kind of fruit and veg can be grown pretty much anywhere. But it's still interesting to see how cultures sort of lend off each other through their choice of food. Now, I haven't got a fancy name for this particular dish, but in many an Indian restaurant they often serve a variation of this, and they typically stuff it with mincemeat, and you've guessed it, they call it rather unimaginatively the stuffed pepper. Now, I know it's pretty anticlimactic, but hey ho, and into the recipe we go. So you can see right now I've got three sorts of pepper, a green, red and yellow, and I'm just hollowing out the centers to make room for the stuffing. There is a difference, of course, between the three in terms of taste. Now, the green's a bit more savory and strong in terms of flavor, whilst the red and the yellow are a bit sweeter. So anyway, we've got a baking tray here. We're just sprinkling some salt and pepper on our peppers. We've also coated them in a little bit of oil. I've used olive oil. You can use whatever sort of oil you like, something neutral. And you're going to want to pop these into an oven on the grill setting or the broil setting, you know, for our American brethren that might be watching. And about 10 minutes should see it looking something like this. So you can see that it's nicely cooked on the one side. We've got some decent color. And of course, the reason why we're cooking it now is because all of our stuffings, all of our fillings rather, are all going to be pre-cooked. So we're not going to be cooking the peppers very much afterwards, aside from finishing them off. So it's really important that you do cook your peppers at this point. You can see now we're going to go straight into the preparation of our fillings. Just dicing up some onion, or rather peeling an onion at the minute. And you can see this is probably the easiest way to go about peeling an onion, guys, if you struggle with the task. I know that a lot of people do. So you just cut it in half, and then you attack each side individually. You get a bit more purchase that way. So here we are. Clean down the working surface as you go. That's what I like to do anyway, but you do you. You're eating the food, innit? So anyway, we're going to dice up this this white onion. And you can see that I've cut it lengthways as well as across a few times, and the smaller you get it, the easier it's going to be, or rather quicker it's going to cook in your pan. So we'll do the same thing with your red onion. Cut it in a similar way that you cut the white onion. You can see we're going straight down and then across also, and I've kind of skipped showing you guys the peeling process because of course I've already shown you the peeling of the white onion, so you get the gist of how to go about peeling the red as well. Now, once we've got this chopped, we're going to set this aside in a bowl, clean down the working surface again, and now we're on to a tomato. Got just the one tomato, and what I like to do is to remove the seeds and the sort of innards of the tomato. You don't really have to, but in this case, because I want to be able to see the tomatoes in the stuffing, or rather I should say the filling, I've decided to sort of core them and just dice up the tomatoes into little squares. If you're cooking a stew or a curry, you'd probably leave them whole, or just give them a rough chop and leave the insides as they are, because tomatoes generally cook down and become a part of the sauce anyway. But in this instance, of course, we want them to be quite apparent in the finished product, and it's going to add a lot of vibrancy in terms of color. Pop these into a bowl. We've also got some green chilies. These are the extra hot variant. You don't have to use them. I like spicy food. Again, you do you. Once we've given these a nice little chop, we're going to move on to some coriander. And I'm beginning to think I'm using a bit more green chili than I actually need. But anyway, here's a coriander, guys. We're just giving this a nice little rough chop. We've got stalks and we've got leaves. It doesn't really matter what you put in there, guys, as long as it's nice and clean when it goes in. Often I find when you buy coriander from Asian shops, they contain a lot of dirt, a lot of mud and even insects sometimes. So make sure you do wash down your herbs before you put them in. So you can see here we've got our first filling. We've got a couple of potatoes which we've just peeled and into a cooking pot with some hot water, some salt and pepper. We're going to let that cook for boil rather, for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, strain off the water, and then you are going to want to mash up your potato. I've just done it straight in the actual pot itself. I've added a little bit of butter and oil to it. Butter for taste, and oil generally helps the butter not to burn. Although in this case I don't really think it was necessary, but hey ho, I've done it. We're going to mix up the potato, get it into a nice sort of paste consistency, and we've added some milk to it. Again, might be a bit more than what's necessary, but you know, I like to eyeball things, and we can always pop the lid on and let it reduce, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Just adding a bit more butter because I don't think I've added quite enough. And I'm also going to add some sliced jalapenos. These are your store-bought variant that you can get in those glass jars, just strained off the sort of salt water brine that they come in, and it's going to add a bit of bite to the actual mash itself. Another depth, or some depth of flavor, I should say. Anyway, your mash is just about done, and I take it off before it's reduced down too much, because of course once you take any cooking vessel off of the heat, there's also always a bit of residual cooking that goes on even after. So here we are on to filling number 2. This is the mincemeat, which is starting off by sauteing some diced garlic. We're going to go in with a 50-50 mix of our onions, so some red and some white. Let it combine, and then we've got some salt and pepper. Now the salt's going to help to draw out all of the moisture from the onions and let them sort of reduce down. So we're just sauteing this until it's lightly golden brown, and then we're going to go in with our mincemeat. Oh, but I am forgetting some of the aromatics. So you can see we've just put in some shahi jeera, or cumin seeds as they call it in English, and we've also put in some garam masala powder. Here's the mince, guys, and we're going to cook this off until you've got rid of all of the moisture and they've sort of browned. And once your mince is browned, or your ground beef as it's called across the pond, we're going to start adding in some of our dry ingredients. So you can see first and foremost we've got our coriander, we've got some green chilies, some tomatoes, some sweet corn, some crushed chili flakes, and some chickpeas. Got a bit of tomato paste to go in as well to add colour, and we're just going to give this a good old mix. Get everything nicely incorporated. It's not quite done yet, guys. We are going to add a few more spices, and once you've got everything mixed together nicely, we are just about ready to go in with those spices. So the usual fare, we've got some paprika, coriander, jeera, chili, and some turmeric. This one's just about ready. Once the spices have combined, you're going to want to leave it on the medium heat for about 5 to 7 minutes, and then you're good to pop it off to the side to prepare your next filling. So the third filling that we've got today, guys, is some chicken mince, and pretty simple and pretty similar in terms of spices and ingredients, but there are a few key differences. So you can see we've got another frying pan, into which we've added our garlic. We're going to saute the garlic and add our 50-50 onion mix. To this we're going to add some salt and pepper, and basically all that we're doing is we're just going to rinse and repeat what we did for the red meat. There are a couple of key differences. We're not putting any shahi jeera in this. We've just gone in with some garam masala powder, and here's your chicken mince. The chicken mince, guys, as you know, with poultry you want to cook it very well to ensure that you haven't got any raw chicken. And once we've cooked it, you can see it's releasing all the water content, and we're going to go in with some of our dry ingredients. We've got some tomato paste, a mix of chili flakes and mixed herbs. We've got some sumac, some coriander, some tomatoes. We've also got some green chilies, and we have lastly some olives. Get those well incorporated. Now, once all of your ingredients get to know each other, you're going to want to go in with some spices. Similar to the mincemeat, we've got our red chili, paprika, coriander, jeera and turmeric, in no particular order, but that's typically the sort of spices that you want to be using. Again, if you've got any other varieties of spices that you want to use, you're more than welcome to. We're giving this a nice little mix, and we're almost ready to start stuffing our peppers. You see the chicken's just about cooked, which is brilliant, and it smells absolutely amazing. We are rather appropriately filling the peppers according to color. So we've got the red meat going into the red peppers. We're going to stuff the yellow peppers with the chicken filling, and lastly we're going to stuff the green peppers with our vegetarian filling, which is the mashed potatoes. So here you can see going in with the chicken. It's a little bit messy, guys. Probably one sort of consideration is if you've got vegetarian guests coming over, you might want to prepare your veggie ones on a separate cooking surface, or even on a separate tray. And on a side note, if you are enjoying our content, please do like and subscribe. It really does help us out, and it gives us the motivation to keep creating this content. Anyway, back to it. We've got a mix of mozzarella and cheddar cheese, which we're applying to the tops of our peppers, and this is going to go straight back into the oven on the grill setting for approximately 5 to 7 minutes until you've got some nice color on the cheese. Here we are, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I certainly hope that you give this recipe a go, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Salam.